Hey everybody, welcome back to the shop. Today I want to go over 3 hand planes that are now available to us at a fairly reasonable price at Lowe's. And they are made by the Jorgensen company. Yeah, the company that does clamps. I have 3 of them here. And I'll be honest with you, I paid for all 3 of these with my own money. And I'm a little bit behind on the times with these because these came out last year, but they weren't very readily available last year and it was hard to get them. A few reviewers on YouTube actually said he thought they were returned. Now, I just happened to be walking around my Lowe's and they were there. And because they're now available, I'm going to go over them. I did purchase them with my own money. My Lowe's receipts right here. The 3 of these combined cost $120. Not a bad price. I used my veteran discount, got 12 bucks off of that, so if you're a veteran, make sure you sign up for that program. Now I'm going to do 3 separate videos. I'm going to go over all 3 of these, and I'm going to give you my honest opinion, because I bought these, nobody knows I have them. I can say whatever I want about them, so I can be very honest with you. We're going to put the number 4 smoother down here out of the way, and we're going to put the number 60.5 block plane down out of the way. Those are the other 2 planes. I'll get them in the next 2 videos. Today we're going to go over the Stanley 102. They're calling this a block plane as well. And as we know, Stanley's 102 block plane was a block plane. When I get this unboxed, you're going to see here that it's a little bit different than the Stanley. A word of note of all 3 of them is they all are made out of ductile iron. They say it right on the packaging. All 3 of them give us kind of the same ductile iron. They actually say that they have Pro 01 blades in them. So they have 01 tool steel. And they're 3 millimeters, about 1/8 of an inch thick. So that's a pretty good blade upgrade compared to the Stanleys. So let's get this guy open. We're going to go over the 102 today. Let me bust him open here. This is my little phony effort at an unboxing. I'm going to try to do this without slicing myself to pieces. This Doyle knife, by the way, is very good. If you happen to be in Harbor Freight, this is a good razor knife. Okay, we do have instructions in here that I will put aside just in case. I don't really think I'll need them. Other than that, it's just a blister pack, so that's the unboxing. Throw that in the trash, and here is your plane. And I'm going to be honest, guys, this thing has nice weight to it for something this small. Now, small is the first thing I need to tell you about this plane. I have, for reference here, a couple of other planes. This is a Stanley 102. This is an old one. Look at the difference in size between these 2 planes. I can tell you right now, the Stanley is 2 inches longer than the Jorgensen plane. A better example would be this little Lee Nielsen copy of the Stanley 100 squirrel tail plane. They're about the same size. As a matter of fact, the bottoms are almost identical if you look at them. And quite frankly, the squirrel tail design is, to me, easier to make because it just has a little screw top and the squirrel tail is just cool. I would have much rather seen them make the squirrel tail since they went with this size. But they decided to copy the 102, which is this block plane, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. So I just want you to know it's much smaller. I mean, this is more public service for you guys that might be shopping online and may just say, yeah, that looks like a 102 because I know what a 102 looks like, and then get it in your house and go, oh, what the heck is this, okay? It's much smaller. It's a detail plane. It's a plane for luthiers and model makers to use. And Hopefully it's good at that. We're going to find out in a minute. So let me take them both apart and I'll show you the differences. I'm going to bring a camera in closer here so you can get on top of it. And we'll see what's different between the old 102 and the new 102. Okay guys, I got a GoPro set up here. Hopefully that'll give us some close-up shots. I got this little window here to work with, so I'm going to try to get this done where you can see it. Now, they both, the 102 as we can see, and the little 102, the Jorgensen version, they both have the same exact look and the same exact cap. The old one, you basically twist counterclockwise and it loosens, and that just allows you to pull the cap off. All that's left at that point with this guy is to pull the blade off. Same feature with our new Jorgensen model. How it works is this cap has this shape and this ridge, and the ridge goes into the rod. So when you loosen, it's moving the cap down, taking pressure off the blade. It's a very simple design and it works very well. And as you can see, our little cap comes right out. And then from there, we take our blade out and we see we definitely have some differences down here. With the original 102, we did not have any kind of adjustment mechanism. We had these two little prongs sticking up out of the casting and then a flat ramp here that the blade rested on. And the blade just went in, resting on these two prongs like this. You just get it kind of to where it's touching, you know, through the mouth. You bring your cap in and now you turn it clockwise, and turning it clockwise raises the cap, which puts pressure down. Putting pressure down locks the blade in place. And you just have to adjust that until you get the blade set, because there's just no adjustment mechanism for these things. Now, we have some interesting features here. And I hope this has been milled well. But what this does is this has, first off, an adjustment mechanism. And if I turn this one way, it's moving very slightly, that sled. And if I turn it the other, actually no, the sled is not moving. Let me be correct here. I can see that there's a little bit of oil in here, which is actually a good thing. That means it came over here oiled up to where we're not going to get any rust, which there is definitely no rust on this at all. I want to stand corrected. This knob is only moving the knob. And what that does is when you put the blade in, this ridge right here catches this slot here. And what that will do is move the blade in and out. So that is much nicer than what we had here, where we had no adjustments. So once you get it where you want it, and I feel like it's just sitting through, I'm going to see what it does. I'm going to put the cap back in, and now I'm going to turn it clockwise. And I'm set. And one good thing I can see, I'm hoping the camera's focusing on that, it looks to me to be square and flat and sticking out from the bottom equal. Now I'm going to take this back apart and actually check all of the adjustments, but I'm looking at it very closely here. I don't see any milling fragments here that I need to file away. Normally when you get a new plane made in, you know, overseas, in China probably, they have some shards, some sharp pieces that, you know, you got to file down because they're going to cut you if you don't. I don't see anything like that here. This costs $15, guys. For this to be machined that well for $15 is kind of surprising to me. Let me pull it back apart. Let's take a look here. This turns rather well, to be perfectly honest with you. It doesn't have a lot of movement, but it has enough to do, you can see the rocker mechanism here. It just has to do that. And that's what it does. The blade truly is 1/8 of an inch thick, and it says it's O2 steel, which I have no reason to doubt. It's not sharp. I mean, these things aren't going to work out of the box. I mean, it's sharp enough for somebody that doesn't know how to sharpen to think maybe, ooh, that does have an edge. It's not sharp enough to do a proper cut with a woodworking tool. So we're going to have to sharpen this up. And then we're going to have to look very closely at this. And I really don't know I don't see, this is just milled into the casting. I was thinking this was a sled that was in there, a piece of maybe aluminum or something that the blade was sitting in. That is actually milled. You can see the milling marks there right into the ductile iron. So the fact that my blade came through the mouth opening pretty straight, that means they did a good job milling it. Now, I'm going to shut the camera off. I'm going to sharpen the blade, and I'll put it back together and I'll adjust it, and we'll see how well it cuts, because that's really what that's all about. But looking at this tiny little thing, I'm also going to check the bottom for flatness. Giving it a quick look-see with this. I only saw light when I was touching the blade because the blade is protruding. This looks pretty flat. I'm going to have to do some testing. I'm going to put a little oil on this mechanism and this mechanism. I'm going to sharpen the blade, and then we're going to come back and we're going to tune it up and we're going to see how it works. Okay, starting with the back, I just want to see how flat it is from the factory. So I'm going to start really optimistic with the 8,000 grit Sharpening stone. And you can see we're getting some black on the stone, so we're removing some material. And I'm very happy to say that I am getting about 3/8 of an inch up, corner to corner, very smooth. This back is pretty darn flat from the factory. I'm going to strop it a little bit and move on to the bevel. It's really, really in good shape. And as you can see, I did hit the strop on the back just to make sure we get a nice shiny edge there. Things look good on the back. And now for the bevel. I'm going very slow here because I'm not using a honing guide, but again, this was ground nicely to 25 degrees, and I did this to get a nice shine on the bevel, and then I just rocked it a little bit and put a micro bevel on here, and we were good. This thing's ready to go. Oh yeah, it's sharp enough to cut paper. That works for me. Alright, I just drew some marks on the bottom of the plane with a Sharpie, and I'm going to also optimistically start at the 8,000 grit here to see how smooth the bottom is. Okay, the 8,000 wasn't going to get this done, so I went down to my coarsest stone, the white Sharpening, and as you can see, we're now pretty flat here. I'm going to show you in a second. I did go back up to the 8,000 grit, give it a little shine, but it's now very functional and we're ready to go. I'm not happy with how this base came out, but it is flatter now. I got some more work to do on it actually, but I didn't want to take it too far. The blade was perfect. I'm really happy with the blade. And this thing just makes very nice shavings. I think this is more for the edge of the board, running it on a corner. Something like this. Put a chamfer on the side of the board. And you can see it does this beautifully, and it's making full length little stringy shavings here. This thing is cutting very nice. I'm actually very happy with this. Okay guys, so as you could see, this thing now cuts very well. Getting nice full length shavings, and it very easily runs a chamfer if that's what you want to do. I showed you that from this camera top view a little minute ago. I showed you my Lie-Nielsen. Here's a better view of it. As you can see, they are exact copies of one another. This one's just much smaller. The original, it works. As you can see, he's harder to adjust because I could only put the blade in and tell, and it's obviously in too far. The Lie-Nielsen, well, they just work, of course. But this one works just as well. Would I go out and tell you to buy this plane right away? Well, guys, here's the deal. I think for $15, it's a great little investment. It didn't need a lot of fettling. The bottom wasn't as good as I liked. It had a little dish this way, so it was flat at the ends all the way around, and I had to bring it down. I brought it down quite a bit. It took me about 15 minutes. I had to go all the way back to my white Sharpening stone, which I believe is a 220. And then I worked my way back up through the 1,000 and the 8,000 stone. Now, the cool thing about a little plane like this is you can do it on stones. When we get to the bigger planes, we're going to have to do that on sandpaper. The only other thing I had to do was the blade, and the blade was beautiful. The back was basically flat. It took me less than 5 minutes to do the blade. Maybe another 5 minutes on the front because it's very small and hard to hold. It took me a little while. I'm not a freehand sharpener. I use a jig and, you know, a guide, and there's no way to put that little blade in a honing guide, so I went very slow. I'm going to be honest, I probably have about 25 or 30 minutes worth of work in this to get it to where it's cutting really nice like this, I mean, very, very nice cuts on what is, you know, an 1/8 of an inch piece of pine, I think this is. You know, that's what this is for. This isn't supposed to be cutting on 8/4 hard maple. It's just not what it's made for. Would I say buy it? If you need it, yeah, it's a great little tool. For $15, you can't go wrong. The thing is, it's just not the first plane, second, third, fourth, or fifth plane you would need in your kit. So if you're starting out a plane kit, you know, you're going to need a jack plane, a smoother, and a jointer or a triplane before you're going to want this thing. And then you're going to want a real block plane, something this size. And then you're probably going to want a router plane and a plow plane. And then maybe you can think about getting this thing. So it's probably pretty far down the line of tools that I would say you'd have a need for. Now, if you're a small parts model maker, luthier, somebody that works with wood this size, where you want to take and do this, you want to hold it in your hand and you want to just size it like this. You see what I'm doing here? I'm knocking very small little shavings off of that corner and I'm just rounding it over. If you want to be able to do stuff like this on small parts, it's a great little plane for you. I mean, it's just as good as this one. I love the fact that this has the squirrel tail, because that squirrel tail goes right into your palm, and that makes it easier to hold. And this one does the same thing. It's set for a little bit smaller cut, which we can adjust. Like I said, you can see we were getting very small, smooth shavings out of this. I wish they made this instead of this, because they made the 60.5 block plane. So they have a block plane in their kit, and they probably didn't want another block plane, so they shrunk this down. It would have been much wiser to just make the squirrel tail. They didn't. I think for the money, it's a great plane. I hope you like this. If you did, please hit the like button. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Thanks again for watching, everybody. Have a great day.